Hello, you are listening to From Maclay to Zama. I'm your host, Karen Miller. This podcast is about the adventures of two women from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, who worked for the U.S. Army at Camp Zama, Japan, from 1953 to 1955. Their stories are told through hundreds of letters written home.
Episode 32, letters 93 to 95. Update on us. We're all put back together after Hurricane Helene here at the podcast. Some news about Western North Carolina. Tweetsie Railroad is not going to reopen until the end of November. For those who don't know, Tweetsie is a family-oriented Wild West theme park just below Blowing Rock, North Carolina on Highway 321. And it is famous for its old-fashioned train rides, and it's kind of a fall tradition around here. The Blue Ridge Parkway is still closed, but we hear that some portions may open in about a week. This matters because the fall leaf season is vital to our economy here. Some things are open, and of course, the trees are being cooperative. Speaking of trees, this episode is very much about trees and also about the smells of Japan, both good and bad. Byrne describes the smell of the cherry blossoms very eloquently in a letter, and it made me wonder, just what do they smell like? I've seen the trees in Washington, D.C. in bloom, but I didn't really notice the smell. So I don't know if I was just nose blind or what. Looking into it, there's actually quite an array of cherry blossom perfumes and lotions out there, so I'm going to have to check them out. In these letters, Peg has her birthday, and when Red Dog shows up without a gift, it seems to be the end of that relationship. Listen for more information about him at the end of this episode. Letter 93 from Peg, March 29th, 1954, Camp Zama, March personal. Dear Mother and Daddy, we had a pretty busy day for a change, and I didn't have time to type you a letter. Today, I got the letter you started on Saturday night. One from Bobby Salinger, one from Doris Rattle, a box of cheese from Pete, goody, and a pair of darling earrings from Miriam. Not bad, huh? I'm anxiously awaiting the box of cosmetics from Schlesinger's. It must be Takusan to have cost $13.63. Mother, you write and hint of various things like the Friss and some other people having trouble, but you haven't really said what is the trouble or what you think it might be. What gives? As far as my worrying is concerned, I just don't worry. I've always felt that if someone needed my assistance in any way, financial or otherwise, and I'm able to do it, I'll be more than glad to help. But if there isn't anything I can possibly do, I just don't worry about it. I know that I'm completely different from that in that respect, Mama-san. But it's just the way I am, and I can't help it any more than you can help being a worrier. But please, Mother, don't go and get upset over things. I've told you that dozens of times, and I might as well tell the sun to shine all night. But I wish you wouldn't. Understand now, I told you, we both did, that we wanted you to tell us everything in your letters, good and bad. And I know you have to blow off steam, as you say, but Mother, why don't you just worry about you and Daddy for a change and let the rest of them take care of themselves? I had a pretty fine weekend. Friday night was another squadron party, and they're always fun. Saturday, Byrne, Mary, and I went to Yokohama to eat at Hansa's, that German restaurant, and I gorged myself. I had sauerkraut, fried potatoes, delicious frankfurters, and masking strawberries with gobs of whipped cream. They cooked the sauerkraut with caraway seeds. Try it. It's a nice flavor. Then we went to see Kiss Me Kate. Yesterday we went to the Great Ladies in the afternoon, but it was a lazy day and the fellows didn't feel like putting up with us. Last night I had a buffet at the Zama Club and gorged myself again, and we came home early. I'm having a birthday party next Saturday night. I've invited about 30 people, and I'm having it up at the club. Sure hope everyone has a good time, even though planned parties usually aren't as much fun as the spontaneous ones. We'll let you know how it works out. We couldn't figure out whether Leni was born in March or May, but we're getting a package off to her tomorrow. Daddy, do you still play the records we sent you? Did you ever hear such a screeching and howling? The girl next to me has a record player, and I heard a concert of waltzes this evening. It reminded me of 526. As per usual, I'm waiting for the dressmaker. We're going to take annual leave on Wednesday or Thursday and go to Tokyo to take pictures of the cherry blossoms. They'll be out in full bloom by then. We have quite a few trees around camp, and they're just gorgeous. Colonel Van Fry is getting all pepped up about going home, and I tell him that the medical section won't be the same without him, and that I might as well go home too, because it won't be bearable without him. Boy, does he ever lap that up. If he had his way, I'd probably be a GS-10 by now. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves. Love, me.
Letter number 94 from Bern, written March 30th, 1954. Dearest ones, truly this season is Japan at its best. Can you smell the faint fragrance of cherry blossoms? The delicate odor might be coming from any of the many lovely trees which are scattered all over the Zama area, or it might be that you can smell the exceptionally lovely arrangement of cherry blossoms and white Easter lilies which my maid has brought as a present. I just wish you could see them, and the unexpectedness of the gift added so much to its charm. The white lilies stand tall and upright and fairly shout the news spring is here. Resurrection time has come. The calendar might say that Easter is still a few weeks away, but for me, that bouquet is a constant reminder of Christ, the Lord is risen today. Alleluia. Temporarily, at least, I have achieved St. Paul's goal of whatever state I'm in to be content. A glorious Easter to you. Tomorrow I will be mailing a package to Marlene containing a dear little tea set from Peg and a doll from me. I won't know until I get to the post office whether it can go airmail or not, so I'll let you know later when we tell Sis to expect it. I'll probably be writing to her in the meantime. I do hope Marky will not be disappointed because there's nothing for him. Honestly, it is a real problem to find anything for little boys here. I looked. Maybe he is big enough now to know that sometimes only birthday people get gifts. I do hope so. Explain it to him, please. It's about 6:15 in the evening, and I have started this while I'm waiting until time to get dressed. Peg, Mary Carrera, Gladys Rigsby, and I are going over to the entertainment workshop to see a mock Shinto wedding ceremony. I'll tell you about it when I get back. Well, it was most interesting, but very unwedding-like. First was seen two lady dressers preparing the bride for the ceremony. She actually had on at the same time 3 different kimonos. Fall and winter weddings are very popular, and you can see why. The poor bride would probably die of heat stroke otherwise. The outer kimono was black, elaborately brocaded with gold. The second, a lovely soft silk material of brilliant red. The third one was pure white. The dressers put on her very elaborate hairdo, fastened with ornaments properly, and poked and prodded until the obi, or sash, was wound tight around her waist. She was a beautiful girl and displayed the outfit perfectly. Scene 2 was the actual ceremony. The bride arrived first, then the groom, accompanied by the matchmaker and both sets of relatives. All the relatives, both the male and female, wore black kimonos, correct formal attire, with the family crest embroidered in white upon the sleeves. In case you're thinking of choosing a crest, don't select the chrysanthemum. Only those of Japanese people of royal blood may wear that. The matchmaker nowadays is merely a symbolic figurehead because in most cases, young people are allowed to do their own choosing. So far as I could determine from the narrator and the action itself, no spoken words were said. 2 shrine maidens, the correct distinction is Shinto shrine and Buddhist temple, served bride and groom with cups of liquid concocted from cherry blossoms. Honest. The reason being that the actual translation of the word tea is not conducive to good luck. Therefore, tea cannot be served at a wedding. The cup passed from bride to groom 3 times. The interpreter explained it was an indirect way of kissing. I much prefer the Western way myself. In a rather long, drawn-out ritual, each guest was served also, and upon finishing the drink, the clay cups are supposed to be thrown down and broken, ensuring that the marriage will last. Then the shrine maidens do a lovely dance, and when that is ended, the matchmaker stands up and invites everyone to the home of the groom, where an elaborate meal has been prepared. Everyone troops away gaily, leaving the bride sitting alone or being alone for a moment, being that she may join the festivities after she is dressed again. During the courses of the banquet, she should change kimonos several times. Actually, she is displaying her trousseau. Poor gal. Since last I wrote, we ate at Yokohama's German restaurant named Hase. Did Peg remember to tell you how good sauerkraut is cooked with caraway seeds? She said it was delicious. I had sauerbraten and wonderful brown bread. It's good to know that if one has a yen for German cooking, plus the yen to buy it, that's a pun, it may be obtained. In my opinion, the food at Houses is better than at Kettle's in Tokyo. It seems that there's quite a large German colony in this area of Japan, displaced persons from the Middle War, etc. Anyhow, the Deutsch accents flow thick and fast at Houses. Tomorrow, your youngest daughter and I are taking annual leave from work to go cherry blossom viewing. The Tokyo area is our objective for the day. There's a large park with a lake, which is especially lovely, and someone recommended a Japanese cemetery on the outskirts of town. We will report back to you later. Hope for clear weather for us. Lots of love to you both. Bushels, in fact. Burn. Letter 95 from Peg, written April 5th, 1954. Camp Zama. Dear Mother and Daddy, well, here I am again with my weekly letter, and you're getting a break this time because I think I'll have time this afternoon to type all of it. Not too busy, for which I'm very glad. The most interesting thing that happened last week was our trip to Tokyo to take pictures of the cherry blossoms. We chose Thursday to do it and are very glad we did because the rest of the week was cloudy and hazy, and Thursday was a beautiful day. We met Jeanette and one of her friends, and off we went. Our first stop was Uno Park, which compares with Williams Grove. It was rather crowded, even though it was a weekday. Takusan folks viewing the blossoms, as we were. They make quite an occasion out of it, complete with sake, songs, and dances. We didn't see too much of that because yesterday, Sunday, was the day for the real crazy carryings-on. However, we took many pictures. We then went to Shinjuku Gardens, which is a lovely, restful, large park, which would compare with Hershey Gardens. There were no amusements there, but on that day, there were lots of school children on picnics. We stopped to watch one of the groups play games, and the kids are so cute. They get a big bang out of games like Blind Man's Bluff, etc. After they finished that game, the instructor picked up his accordion and played, to our complete amazement, Jesus Loves Me. The kids formed a big circle and went around in a ring singing it in Japanese. We certainly liked that. Then Bern and I came back to Yokohama and came home after eating at Joe's. Friday was unexciting except that some of the gals stopped in my room during the evening and we gossiped. Saturday was my birthday. My party was a success, I guess. At least I had fun. Pretty many folks stopped in to wish me a happy birthday. I held the party in the party room at the club and everyone said they had a good time. However, Red Dog and I spoke sayonara, which means we said farewell. He's a great guy, but he's been skoshi sarcastic about some of my friends who are in the army instead of the magnificent Marines, and he sometimes acts like a very spoiled child. Anyhow, it's too long a story and not even very interesting, so I just told him I wasn't going to go out with him anymore. We're still friends, and frankly, it's no great loss. We were getting tired of each other anyhow. Besides, the big jerk didn't even buy me a birthday present. Yesterday, Bern and Mary and I were going to Yokosuka to take more blossom pictures, and we only made it as far as Yokohama. Things were really popping there, and we just stayed in and enjoyed the sights. There was a parade of floats in the afternoon, the likes of which you have never seen. Oh, they looked pretty much like any other floats, but some of them were just covered with artificial cherry blossoms and loaded with kids and adults dressed in kimonos and other typical gear. Got some pictures of that, too. And then we went down to the port to see the Carolina, a British luxury liner that pulled into port with lots of wealthy, and I'm quoting the Nippon Times, Americans on a cruise at distant spots. They're sightseeing in Japan during this time, so we got to see the ship. The masters were very nice and so very, very British, but they still wouldn't let us on board. I think the port is so exciting, and I just love to go down there and look around. I was wondering yesterday what it would be like to be simply utterly fascinated with the whole business. As I said before, it's starting to look like Six and Maclay to me by this time. When I see a native who looks interesting or is dressed exceptionally colorfully, I ask them if I may take their picture. Usually they oblige. But yesterday we were on the other end. I guess the Japanese folks who were there looking at the ship with us thought we were some of the wealthy Americans, and they took pictures of us like mad. After we left the port, we went to the park in Yokohama, but it was so crowded and dirty that we didn't stay long. Then we ate and came home because we were utterly exhausted. You can never imagine the dirt and filth in this country. It's a good thing that we were required to have inoculations of all kinds before we came over here, or I'm convinced we'd all be dead or have some dreadful disease. And the smells. There's nothing in the States to compare with some of the smells over here. There's the smell of the farms when they spread a fresh load of fertilizer, human type. Then there's the smell of the natives themselves. I don't know what brand of cosmetics they use, but it's a musty, sweet smell. Then you must pass a restaurant or cafe, and it's hard to believe that the food smells that awful. Quite a few folks told us that when anyone who has lived in Japan hits the States, the folks there can tell from one whiff that they've been in the Far East. They say your clothing becomes saturated with the odors, and you aren't even conscious of it yourself. It's very obvious to the folks who are in the nice, clean, sweet-smelling states, though. I'm anxious to find this out for myself. Of course, the folks who have told me that swear up and down that it's true, but I'm so gullible that I believe just about anything, and they might as well snow me about smells as about anything else. Bern and I have thought up a pretty good idea for a combination Mother's and Father's Day gift for you two. We'll send it so that it gets to you sometime between the 2 days. Hope you like it. Ain't you excited? Last Wednesday afternoon, I was supposed to sit in the general's office again, and I just put my foot down. I told Colonel Goria, the exec, that I would have a case of ulcers in a short time and find my nerves would be completely shot if I had to do it anymore. And besides, it wasn't on my job sheet, and would he please make other arrangements. He and I are buddies, so he didn't care how I said it. So bless his heart, he sent me back to my own little office with my dear little colonels and said I should forget about it, and then he would make other arrangements. I'm telling you, I wouldn't take that job for a GS-10. Today, I commented to Colonel Van Tool how all the VC officers have gotten promotions, and he said he wondered whether he would get one. He won't, naturally, because he's going to be retired by September of 54. So I said that I wouldn't get a promotion either, that all I get is experience and a bad time. He told me to quit griping because I'm having a good time over here, so what more do I want? No sympathy do I get. It's true, though. I am having fun, but my job is still zilch. Taffy and I gray-ladied on Saturday morning. The census of the hospital is very low at present, so we didn't do much for the boys. We just couldn't seem to interest them in any of the articles or magazines on our cart, so we spent most of the morning painting posters that they put out every week, telling the events for the following week. Some of the fellows helped us and seemed to enjoy it, so I guess it wasn't a completely wasted time. I still like the work, but there isn't enough for us to do because most of the fellows can walk around and go on past once in a while, and so they pretty well amuse themselves. Tomorrow night we go down for a party they have every Tuesday, and that's always pretty much fun. I don't have too much other news. In fact, not any more news, period. Did you send us any Easter candy? Vern was hungry yesterday for a peanut butter egg. If you haven't sent us any, don't, because I really don't think that it's going to travel very well. We really enjoyed the bologna and cheese and ate it in a very short time. Love, me. Well, I've always thought I knew my Aunt Peg pretty well, and now I feel like I know her even better from these letters. And I think she left out some really pertinent details here. At one point in a letter, she mentioned Red Dog's real name. And so I decided at that point, which was about 30 letters ago, to do some research about him. And I discovered that not only was he married in 1953, but he had 2 small children. He remained married to the same wife from the 40s until their deaths. And so I don't think they were separated. And I don't think that Aunt Peg would have dated a married man if she'd known it. I've been vacillating about whether to include this information in the podcast, But when he told her a few letters ago, I always believe honesty is the best policy, which was in regard to her taxes, I decided it was going to be okay to disclose this. I also know her well enough to know that in this letter to her parents about breaking up with him, she's not telling the truth. I think she's just grabbing at straws to come up with something that she thinks her parents will buy about why they broke up and about them still being friends. I guess we'll see in future letters if she tells anything else. The other thing is with Byrne, her sister, dating his roommate, I would say that the likelihood of the information that he was married getting out increases. Most of the guys that they were palling around with were also part of his unit, and they all had to know as well. So what a great way to spend your birthday. I guess that's just the way things go, but it made me sad that she didn't have a good birthday. So the next time on From Maclay to Zama, get ready for an earthquake of the earthquake kind. I hope you're enjoying the podcast, and if you are, please subscribe in Spotify. On Apple Podcasts, hit the plus button in the top right-hand corner and rate. This will help my listeners find my podcast more easily. You can access the show's website at www.FromMaclayToZama.com, where I've posted photos and links from the episodes. The podcast is now available on iHeartRadio, Pandora, Patreon, and Amazon as well. New episodes will be available each Friday morning. The letters were written by my aunts Byrne and Peg, transcribed by me. I write and record the show and have created the artwork and original music. Our producer is Zeke, our sound engineer is intern Sylvie, and the security is provided by intern Frey. Thanks to my great-grandparents, John and Helen, who loved us all and thought it was a good idea to save the letters. All rights reserved, 2024.